This is Valley News Live at 5.
As the nation breathes a collective sigh of relief after a former police officer was found guilty of murdering George Floyd, the focus is shifting from Minneapolis to Washington. President Joe Biden is pressing Congress to pass police reform, and the Justice Department is launching a sweeping investigation into the Minneapolis Police Department. Alice Barr has the latest from Washington.
For the family of George Floyd, the verdict bringing overwhelming relief after a year of gut-wrenching pain.
It was a pivotal moment for me, my family, the world. And Gianna, she just don't know that the words that she spoke, my dad would change the world. He really did.
Celebration cascading across the country.
I cried, tears of joy.
Along with a renewed push for change.
You definitely can't rest on a conviction.
Now, less than 24 hours after former police officer Derek Chauvin was convicted on all 3 counts, the U.S. Department of Justice launching a civil investigation to determine whether the Minneapolis Police Department
engages in a pattern or practice of unconstitutional or unlawful policing.
President Biden and Vice President Harris praising the verdict and putting the spotlight on systemic police reform.
This can be a giant step forward in the march toward justice in America.
The Biden White House pressuring the Senate to pass the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act that the House approved last month. The bill would make it easier to prosecute officer misconduct and ban practices like chokeholds. Republicans staunchly oppose some provisions, but today there's hope for a breakthrough compromise.
I think we are on the verge of wrapping this up in the next week or 2, depending on how quickly they respond to our suggestions.
That wave of relief, perhaps short-lived, as America waits to see whether meaningful reform will be written into law. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Meanwhile, Governor Tim Walz released a statement about the Justice Department's investigation into the Minneapolis PD. He says, "I welcome the federal government's involvement in this important work, and I look forward to reviewing the results of both investigations as we work to rebuild trust between law enforcement and the communities they serve." We now know the name of the carjacking suspect who police say was shooting at them in Burnsville, Minnesota, as they were chasing him over the weekend. According to police, 30-year-old Bradley Olson of Dresser, Wisconsin, was driving a car with stolen plates. They say he crashed the car, ran into a TGI Fridays restaurant, and then stole another vehicle. He continued to shoot at officers and crashed the second vehicle. When Olson tried to carjack 2 other drivers at gunpoint, officers shot him. The officers involved are on administrative leave. A 15-year-old girl is dead after an officer-involved shooting in Columbus, Ohio. The police department has released body camera video of the fight with some editing for blurred faces and slow motion. And we have a warning for you. Some of the video could be disturbing to some viewers. Police say someone called for help yesterday, saying people had come to stab them. Family members identified the teenager shot in this video as Micaiah Bryant. Police say she tried to stab another girl right in front of the officer, and he fired to save the victim. The Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation is looking into the matter. We are setting ourselves up for a nice Thursday, and a couple key things happening this evening will help with that. Hutch joins us now with more. Hutch?
Andrea, thanks so much. Here, things quieting down in the FM area after a brief shower wetted the windshields, but that's about it this afternoon. We're still not clearing out, though, a few clouds remaining from these showers that are now pushing through the Lisbon and Oaks area, heading in towards Gwinner right now. Where you see the dark greens, these are likely wetting the sidewalks in the Lisbon area, heading into Gwinner now. But the lighter greens not likely making their way all the way down to the ground. Showers that are moving out of Lakes Country and into Lakes Country starting to diminish in aerial coverage and intensity, likely much of that not reaching the ground. Clearing skies in the Devil's Lake Basin mean temperatures there are near 60 degrees. 59 Hallock and Langdon. 58 in Grand Forks, 40 for Bemidji, the cool spot as we head into the evening hours. In Fargo, we'll sneak down into the upper 30s by bedtime tonight. No record lows on the docket, as that's what we did this morning in the teens. Grand Forks, a beautiful evening with clearing skies tonight. I'll have details on a terrific forecast for Thursday, but then we're right back into an unsettled pattern All of that coming up here in a few moments, Andrea.
Okay, thanks, Hutch. In tonight's Crime Watch, an 18-year-old is accused of being involved in a fire that broke out at Mid-America Steel last month. Court documents say Riley Keeping and 2 friends went there because one of his friends had an app that showed abandoned places. The other 2 people involved are minors, so they won't be named. Investigators discovered a video on a juvenile's phone of a boy with a gray sweatshirt who was leaving the office with a fire burning. Court records indicate Riley Keeping is awaiting extradition out of Colorado. A woman is in jail after officials say she started a fire at the Grand Inn Hotel in South Fargo last Saturday. Court documents state 48-year-old Britt Kahlberg told officers that she believed someone was holding her children hostage in a hotel room and that something told her to start the fire so firefighters could save her kids. She poured tequila on the hotel bedding, then used a lighter to light it on fire. The building was evacuated before fire crews arrived. The cost of repairs is around $25,000. A Louisiana woman has pleaded guilty in a shooting at a South Fargo motel in January. Fargo police rushed to the Motel 6 at midnight on January 13th after reports of a domestic dispute. Authorities say Demetria Joseph fired a gun toward a man in the motel hallway but didn't hit him. She was charged with reckless endangerment, theft, and discharge of a firearm within city limits. Joseph has been sentenced to 120 days in jail with credit for time already served, plus 18 months probation. An 18-year-old has been sentenced to nearly a decade in prison for his role in a brutal assault in Moorhead last year. Ashton Bellefeuille has been sentenced to 10 years in a St. Cloud prison. Officers were called to the 1900 block of 18th Avenue South on November 19th after callers reported a woman jumping off the roof of the building. The victims told officers that Bellefeuille assaulted them with a knife, screwdriver, and a stick. A suspended drug dealer was arrested in the Northern Valley after running from police. The Pine to Prairie Drug Task Force learned of suspected drug dealer Eric Baldwin, thought to be delivering meth from Grand Forks to Crookston. Crookston police and Polk County deputies tried to pull him over on the outskirts of Crookston yesterday, but he drove away. Officers later caught up with him, but then he ran, then surrendered after a canine arrived on scene. In tonight's COVID-19 coverage, Governor Doug Burgum says the state will be lifting its COVID-19 emergency declaration next Friday. Burgum says when that happens, the state will then focus on pandemic response efforts to help more people get vaccinated. Setting the date for April 30th will allow the state legislature to pass pandemic-related bills before it goes into effect. The emergency was declared on March 13th, 2020. The same day an emergency was declared on the national level. Sanford Health says half of Cass County has now received the first dose of the COVID vaccine. Sanford says that vaccine distribution has been consistent, but they would like to see more people get vaccinated, especially the younger generation. The goal is to get between 80 and 90% of the overall community vaccinated in Cass County.
I think we are getting to the point for a lot of people that have been waiting for their opportunity to get the vaccine have taken it or have appointments to take. It's just getting to the next percentage.
Dr. Griffin says he doesn't know when the Johnson & Johnson vaccine will be used again, but thinks within the next rollout it'll have a warning label to younger women. Sanford also says they're noticing an uptick with cases. Meanwhile, an FDA inspection report has identified serious violations at the Emergent Biosolutions facility where millions of doses of Johnson & Johnson's vaccine were ruined. The report says the facility, located in Baltimore, is not maintained in a clean and sanitary condition, nor was it of suitable size, design, or location to facilitate cleaning, maintenance, and proper operations. The agency also found that the components for the vaccine ingredients were not stored properly and that the equipment was not adequately cleaned. Moorhead is mobilizing its residents to help protect the city. How you can help is next.
And we began our day in the teens, a record low for the FM area this morning. Look elsewhere, temperatures were mighty chilly, teens and 20s to get out the door. Much milder weather is in store as we'll enjoy it for at least one day. Your hour-by-hour forecast is coming up right after this.